Hello and welcome to episode 3 of Influence Me. This is my series of conversations with influencers in enterprise communications. The first episode was with Art Scholler, episode 1. Episode 2 is with Blair Pleasant, and episode 3 is with none other than Zeus or Zeus, that's the first question actually. That's how to pronounce his name. Zeus Kerravala. So with that, let's bring on Zeus and welcome Zeus.
Hey, third person.
You're the third episode. I didn't say that. I'm not ranking people. That would be crazy. Actually, I had to make Art number 1 because he went in for like open heart surgery right after that episode. So I'm glad we got that taken care of, and he's recovering and recuperating just fine. So welcome, Zeus. And so as I teased already in the intro, we're going to figure out your name. I know that it's Zeus, and the reason I know that is because people ask me all the time, and I know that I tend to avoid it because I say ZK all the time. That's just the easy thing. But I've noticed, most people who don't know you call you Zeus, and you've never ever corrected them. So you don't seem to care.
No, I mean, it's spelled that way. And it's funny because I've had people say to me, they know how well people know me when they name drop me, because you and I get name dropped a lot, right? And by how they pronounce my name. If they say Zeus, it's like, well, you obviously don't know the guy that well. But pronouncing a person's name would be the right way to do it. People that, again, I get a lot of ZKs, Z's, things like that, but it's Zeus. I get a lot of Zeus, Zeus, things like that. So there you go, Dave. And so it's not that hard to pronounce, but I do understand that if you just look at it, it can cause confusion. Although it's funny, when I was growing up, I remember 8th grade mythology class, the teacher got so used to saying Zeus that when he'd teach about Zeus, he'd actually say Zeus, and he'd have to correct himself there. So,
all right. Well,
it's a trickle down.
I get the Dave and David all the time, and people always seem to think, is it okay if I call you David or something like that? It's like, it's the same name, whatever. So, but that really is the same name. But you don't seem to care at all, which is, I think that's great, because you give people some slack on the common pronunciation.
It's funny. One of the guys I pick up hockey with, though, he said, "Hey, I heard in the dressing room somebody call you Zeus. Is that how you pronounce it?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "I've been calling you Zeus for 3 years, and you've never corrected me." And so,
Yeah. Now we're going to get into geography. You are one of the most geographically confusing people I know.
Yeah.
You actually kind of seem to be always on one coast or the other. And then here's the true false question. True or false, is Zeus a Canadian? And so first off, where are you a Canadian, and where do you live?
Yes, I have 2 passports. They're both around here somewhere. I have a Canadian passport and a U.S. passport. And when people ask me where am I from, I get a little puzzled because I don't really know what they mean by that question. So if it's where I was born, that's Hong Kong. My parents' ancestry, I have one mom my mom was Japanese. My dad was from India. I was born in Hong Kong, raised on the west coast of Canada. I lived 7 years in Maryland. I've been in Massachusetts area where Kerravala Consulting and ZK Research is legally registered in Massachusetts. But as you know, I married a lady that lives in San Francisco, and we bought a place out there. So I split time between the 2 coasts. And so where am I from?
Your dad is still in Canada, right?
My dad is in just north of Victoria, British Columbia. I have a sister in Vancouver, British Columbia, and I have another sister in Ottawa, Ontario. She works for Export Development Canada.
So you grew up on the west coast of Canada.
Yeah.
You consider yourself probably Canadian because that's where you were born and where you were raised. How did you end up in the U.S.?
So that's an interesting question, and it sort of shows the power that the internet had even back then. So my first job out of college, I was a software developer at a military college in Canada, Royal Roads Military College, and I was working on Unix machines there. And if you remember the internet back then, there was no GUI interface. We had read news and things like that. Another one of my friends who was a developer on a Unix machine found this play by email soccer simulation that you email your roster in and your plays and stuff like that, and somebody runs a simulation. And this league had, I'm not kidding you, 400 teams globally. And so when Railroads Military College announced they were shutting down, I became pretty good friends, if you will, with this guy who worked for UUNet in Virginia, and I had him fax me the want ads from, this was 1995, right? From the want ads from the Baltimore Sun and the Washington Post. So what I didn't realize back then, Dave, in 95, was although Unix was rampant on the West Coast, developed at Stanford, it was nowhere on the East Coast, right? It was all IBM Big Blue. And so Alex Brown, the financial services firm, was putting a Unix-based trading system in, and they, for the life of them, could not find a Unix administrator anywhere on the Eastern Seaboard. So they flew me out, hired me, and from there I just changed.
And what kind of Unix was that? What flavor?
HPUX. So
HPUX.
Yeah.
Okay, I had no idea you had an HPUX Unix background.
I also used the IBM, Sun, Spark, all those different flavors of Unix. So if you could code in one, you could code on the other.
Okay, so we talked about geography, and one of the reasons that it's confusing about where you live is because you really live anywhere. Maybe you live on a plane. As far as I can tell, you're always in an airport. You're always on the road. I mean, I don't even know, but like the laws of where you declare yourself as a resident, it's like you have to spend 6 months a year there or something like that. I don't think you spend 6 months anywhere. So other than airport lounges. So the first question, I guess, is how many airlines do you have elite status with?
So I'm a United 1K. I'm an American Exec Platinum. And last year, JetBlue added some weird Mosaic Plus. And this actually, one of the interesting things we talk about, Dave, all the time is the integration of UCCC and how front office, back office, things like that. I remember when JetBlue emailed me and said, "Hey, congratulations, you're Mosaic Plus." I had called JetBlue's call center for something else. And I said, "What can you tell me about Mosaic Plus?" And the call center person said, "I have no idea what you're talking about." And because it was a brand new program. And so it hadn't bubbled down, which is kind of funny.
They weren't invited. That agent wasn't invited.
Yeah. So the three, every once in a while, I'll get Delta status. If I wrap up all my mileage early in the year, I'll start flying Delta. But there's just so much overlap between the airlines. And
so do you have a preferred airline?
I guess United is preferred. I like the lounges. They tend to be pretty nice. The upgrade programs are pretty good. If I'm going San Francisco, Boston, or Boston, San Francisco, I usually take JetBlue because their Mint class is actually the best domestic first class. It rivals United Polaris, but United doesn't run Polaris, Boston, San Francisco anymore, except for the rare flight when they need a plane over there. So yeah. And then American, I sort of fill in the gaps. I use a lot for international travel because for whatever reason, I like to transfer through Heathrow because I'm,
So you mentioned the clubs. You mentioned the United Club there. I imagine you're a member of several clubs too. Do you do the Amex Centurion thing?
I do. I have Amex Centurion. I have Priority Pass. I have the American Airlines Club card. I have the United Clubs card. So, as you know, Amex gets us into Delta, it gets into the Centurion lounges. So there really isn't a lounge I can't get in. I don't know why I have Priority Pass because I use it.
It's bundled with the Amex thing. You get it with the Amex. But
yeah, Orlando, you need it though. The only lounge they have there is Priority Pass lounge, right?
But you actually gave a thumbs up to the United Club. I'm not a big fan of the United Club. I mean, I go there a lot because there's no choice really where a lot of the airports I go to. But the Centurion Club is by far my preferred.
Oh yeah. No, if you're just talking sort of general club, Centurion's got better food. It's got better facilities. I like the even places you can work, things like that. American actually has pretty good clubs as well. A lot of the newer ones, the older ones are terrible.
So I want to switch a little bit to what you do professionally. It's kind of I hate to give you that kind of credibility. You're not really a professional, in my opinion, but
Easiest
you're one
job
of the
ever.
few from the analyst space, at least from the analyst perspective, you're one of the few that covers UC and networking. Why do you think that's such a rare combination? Because it seems pretty natural for you.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a good question. I do think the two are very tightly together, closing. And when I started, so when I finished being an IT pro, I worked for a VAR for a couple of years. We were a big Cisco VAR when Cisco started selling VoIP, right? Remember the old Avid thing that they had? So the two went, like chocolate and peanut butter. If you're going to sell network, you sold VoIP, or vice versa.
Right. And that was like the Cisco's original model when it got into video was really about the network.
Yeah. And 3Com did that for a while, Avaya did that for a while. And so the two to me have always seemed inherently linked together. I don't really know how you can talk about one without the other. I don't go as deep as some people. Obviously, if you want to know, does contact center vendor A have feature 852 versus B? Sheila knows that. I have no idea. But even within UC and networking, I tend to cover emerging technology. Like if you ask me, does Arista or Cisco have a better 48 port GigE switch? I don't know. They're kind of the same, right? But if you want to ask me what they're doing with AI and how Cisco's DNA is different than Arista's Cloud Vision, I can tell you that.
What I've noticed about the UC and networking side is, while it's very rare for the analysts to cover both, it's pretty common to see the vendors kind of dance around. But I mean, you like Wes from Extreme. He was previously at Mitel, and so it's pretty.
Yeah.
And you've had a number of AR contacts that move between networking and UC. So
yeah, in fact, look at the VARs, right? Lots of the VARs that sell UCaaS and CCaaS will also sell SD-WAN, because in general, you should probably upgrade your WAN if you're going to wind up doing UCaaS or CCaaS.
Okay. I want you to reach back into your memory of garages that you've had over your lifetime. What was your favorite car that you've ever owned?
Well, that I own now, or that I've ever owned?
That you ever owned. Okay,
well, sir, the favorite car that I've ever owned.
First off, how many cars have you owned? I don't need an exact. Is it like 10? Is it like 20? Is it 100? I mean, you probably have 10, 20 cars in your lifetime, right?
I probably had closer to 30, I guess.
Okay, 30. So out of those 30 vehicles, which ones make you just smile the most?
So my favorite car that I've ever owned is probably the one I just bought, an Audi TTS. The thing is like,
you can fit in that thing? I can't fit in that thing. That thing is a tiny little car.
It's a tiny little car, and it flies. Kind of, if I reach back to older cars that I had, I really liked the 75 Dodge Dart that I had when I was in college. I did all the work on it myself. It was a 3-speed manual transmission on the floor.
I had a Plymouth Duster, 3 in the tree.
Yep. And it had a 289 that you really couldn't ever kill. And I drove that thing into the ground. I really did like that car. I had a Chevy Blazer also for a while. I don't know why Chevy got rid of the Blazer. They just brought it back. But that old Blazer was a pretty classic 4-wheel drive. It went anywhere. But I've kind of up-leveled cars since then. So, but the Audi TTS is a pretty fast and fun car to drive. So,
and where is this Audi parked? Which coast is it on?
It's in Massachusetts. It's sitting in the garage. On the West Coast, I've got a BMW, the 238, the small one. What I've done, Dave, is now that my kids are older, I'm only buying cars that are designed for empty nesters. If my kids want to go somewhere they can drive themselves.
They can, yeah. All right. Let's see here. All right. So I wore this shirt for you in your honor. I know you're a big truck fan. I'm a big truck fan, but I don't think I'm as big of a truck fan as you are. It's interesting how popular and cool truck has become, because if you remember the Captain Picard I used to have behind me for a while.
Yes.
So I had this cardboard Captain Picard that was behind me, and it didn't quite survive the move. So he's safe, tucked away in storage right now. But I remember the first time I brought that out as an analyst and put it in my background. I'm going to say around 2014, and people freaked out. Said, "Dave, you can't have a cartoon, not a cartoon, but you can't have a TV character in your background. You're supposed to be a professional analyst, blah blah blah." But now it's like really cool to have that kind of stuff. I mean, Trek is really in. So I know that I know like Jonathan Rosenberg over at 5'9". I know there's so many. Dave Chavez over at previously associated with Avaya. Just so many Star Trekkies out there. So I'm going to ask you a series of Trek trivia questions. Oops, that's the wrong one. Turn that one off.
And I will caveat this though by saying I am a huge original series fan. The other shows I've watched every once in a while, but I never, I like Next Generation. I never really got into Deep Space Nine. Discovery I did like, and Strange New Worlds I thought was really good as well.
And Enterprise? What about Enterprise?
I watched Enterprise a little bit, but it wasn't like I like the mission of Star Trek, go out and discover strange new worlds. So yes. Enterprise was really about Starbase. Even Deep Space Nine was more, I used to describe it as star sit there, right, and let the strange new worlds come to you. But I always thought that, in fact, what's the guy's name? Doug Mahoney on Twitter. He'd always argue about who was the best captain. I say it's Kirk because he either seduced somebody to get what they wanted. Remember, he seduced the Romulan captain and he had the two-handed karate chop to the back. Right. If you ever had to get hit by one of those Kirk two-handed karate chops, you were out.
You're done. Well, I'm glad you said that. I'm a TNG fan first. I think you're a TOS, as you said first. I enjoyed Voyager. I never got into Deep Space Nine. I enjoyed Enterprise. But I had someone tell me recently. In fact, I think it was Dave Chavez over from Avaya. I think he said you got to give Deep Space Nine another shot, and I've been meaning to do that. It's just, I just had trouble getting into Deep Space Nine. Like you said, it doesn't go anywhere. Okay, so you've got right now, I'm displaying your trivia score of a fat 0. I'm going to give you 10 questions. These are not the advanced questions. You can get into details of Trek that are just ridiculous. So these are not advanced questions. I'm guessing you're going to get us. I did a similar thing with Blair, by the way. I did Blair with Seinfeld trivia questions, and she actually beat me, which is crazy because I wrote the questions. But anyway,
I think those are fairly easy Seinfeld questions, though.
Okay. Well, these are probably going to be easy for you too. So let's see how you do here. So the first question is, let's see if we can get rid of this big fat 0 on your score here. First question is, what is Deanna Troy's favorite food?
Again, you're getting into sort of next gen. So I haven't watched that show in 20 years. And I honestly don't remember. I've been rewatching all the original series.
Take an educated guess. She's a lovely woman. I mean, what a woman. It's Valentine's Day.
I thought it'd be something spacey or something like that. It's not gak because that's, obviously a Klingon food. Favorite food, a salad.
Okay, I'm afraid you keep your 0 for now. If the answer is chocolate, the answer is chocolate. Okay, so here's another TNG. I got more TNG questions here than I recall. All right, but you'll know this one. What is the name of Data's evil twin brother?
Lore, I think it was.
All right. I'll give you that. Lore is indeed the correct answer. So at this point, you've got a maximum score potential of 9 out of 10. So let's see how you do on number 3 here. That's another TNG. See, that's all that matters in my opinion. Okay, so what is the name of the first episode of Next Generation?
Oh, that was Battle at Farpoint, or it had Farpoint in the name, I think.
All right, I'll give it to you. It's Encounter at Farpoint.
Encounter at Farpoint. Yeah.
You would have got that on a multiple choice. I think that you would have got that on a multiple choice. So,
actually, when you watch that episode, you realize how bad the acting was and how much better it got as the series went on.
Not only that, but the special effects. Because I remember being really impressed with TNG special effects at the time. But you go back to like Farpoint, it's just crap. It's unbelievable. Okay, it's another TNG question, but let's see. What was the name of the ship that Captain Picard first commanded?
Stargazer?
Oh my gosh, you got it. I didn't think you'd get that one. Stargazer actually appears in a couple of episodes. Yes.
Now you make me want to go back and rewatch Next Generation.
Next Generation is the best. I don't know why you wouldn't.
Which was your favorite episode of Next Generation?
Oh, it's got to be, certainly the Borg was the part one and part two of the Borg was really good. That's the most common answer. I've always really liked In a Life, which is the flute one. But
Yes, that's the one where he lived the life of that other person.
lived an entire
That
lifetime.
I think that is one of the best TV episodes of any show I've ever seen.
It's fantastic. It's one of the best. It's so good. Okay. Where were you when you grew up? I mean, you're not that old, so you weren't watching original Star Trek new. So where were you watching all your original Star Treks?
Well, I was born in '66, so I've been watching it.
They started in '69. I guess
Yeah.
60. I think it was '69, and it was only on for 3 years. So I don't think you learned all this trivia when you were 2 or 3. But
No, I've been watching the original series all my life, including all the movies. One of my oldest memories, Dave, that I can remember. I don't know how old I was. I must have been little. Was the Gorn episode where I was convinced Kirk was going to die, and I remember running into the kitchen to my mom, crying that
Yep.
Kirk was gonna die.
Yes. Okay, another TNG one. Actually, this is a tricky one because it's actually a Borg related question, and Borg were in several of these series. Yeah. What was the name given to Captain Picard when he was assimilated by the Borg?
Oh, Locutus.
I didn't think you'd get that one either. I thought that would be. I had to look that one up to be sure I had it right, but yes, you have that one.
Actually,
right.
the Borg episodes I really liked, right? Locutus, and then they brought Hugh on board and things like that. So
yeah. Okay. Voyager.
Boy, I don't.
Voyager was really good, I thought, because you needed to reinvent Trek. You needed a whole new thing. So let's put a ship out on its own. I thought that was great. One of my favorite characters in Voyager was the ship's doctor. And my question to you is, what was the name of the ship's doctor?
Oh, he was the electronic doctor.
It was a hologram.
Yeah. And holographic. I don't remember what the doctor's name was. I didn't watch a lot of Voyager.
But the name of the doctor is indeed the Doctor.
Is that what it is? Okay.
Yeah.
I thought there was some acronym that they had for him.
It was actually the series finale, the very last episode. He takes the name Joe, but so spoiler alert: Joe survives. But
remember, it's Roberto Picardo, right? Who played?
Yeah, he was. I thought he was a great character. He was so frustrated all the time. He had no time for anybody. I thought it was. You woke me up again. Okay, TOS, original Star Trek. What was Kirk's father's name?
Oh, Kirk's father's name. His brother was Sam, which was Kirk's father's name. George, I think, right?
George it is.
Yeah.
All right. You struggled in that one. You knew Locutus, but you didn't know that one. Okay, so number 8. This is a really hard one. I got to warn you. This was a really hard one. This is one of those crazy trivia ones. Who was the first communications officer on the Enterprise?
Oh, I don't remember that. So that was in the Menagerie, right? And
it actually may have been in the first one with Kirk as well.
Oh, right, because I don't remember.
The obvious answer, which is wrong, is who?
Uhura.
Yeah, the obvious answer is Uhura, and that is wrong. The correct answer is Hoshi Sato.
Oh.
Yeah, that was a deep trivia one. That was one that I don't remember no Hoshi dude. Okay, TNG, the next generation. For those of you not understanding the terms, TNG, who invented data?
Oh, his dad, right? Which he called his dad. It was that scientist guy. I don't remember his name though.
Oh, come on! You got to get this one. He was even a character in the Picard series on Paramount recently. The last season.
Did you watch that?
What's that?
Did you watch that?
I did watch it. It was tolerable. It was not every episode was like maybe I'll watch another episode, and then I continued to make it all the way through.
I really don't remember his name.
Okay, I'm sure you'd get this on a multiple choice. It's Noonien Soon.
Oh, right. Yeah, because it's yeah.
All right, last question. Oh, this is a good one. This is a movie question. Wrath of Khan. I'm sure you know Wrath of Khan as well as I mean that's the best.
I have watched Wrath of Khan a bunch of times. If I don't get this, I'm going to quit.
Okay, it's the last question. Okay, so what does McCoy give Kirk for his birthday in Wrath of Khan?
Oh, glasses.
Two things.
Oh, a book and glasses.
You got to be a little. It's actually not a book. You know, the book is interesting because I remember the book as well. But I looked it up and the book was not listed. But book, what kind of book was it?
It was it Peter Pan? It was something with ship's navigation.
It was a U.S. history book, as I recall. But that's not the answer. That
was it. Romulan ale glasses.
Romulan ale is the correct answer. And then what did you say?
He also gave him glasses, and Kirk said. He
also gave him because he's getting old.
And, and Kirk said he goes, normally I prescribe Retinax 5 for my patients, and Kirk said I'm allergic to Retinax 5. And so whenever I see the Restasis commercial, I always think of Retinax 5.
There you go. There's also, when I was reading the trivia on this and looking up this answer, apparently in the it must be the Star Trek 4, because it said that it was in San Francisco when Kirk needed money. He gave his glasses. He sold his glasses at a pawn shop or an antique shop, and Spock says those are the glasses that McCoy gave you, and he says, well, and he will again because they're back in time.
Oh,
so I don't remember that connection there, but so anyway, I
remember Kirk putting the glasses on when they had to change. Remember, lower the Reliant shields by putting in the Reliant code, and I remember that even the code was 163009, which I thought was stupid because you could only use each digit once. You remember that? Like they had that, so you couldn't make it like. Yeah. So that was sort of like weak security for a starship, you would think, huh?
Yeah, there was a lot of really weak. But Wrath of Khan is definitely, I think, the best of all the movies they made, and of course, it features the best villain ever created in Star Trek, Khan himself.
Yeah.
And so, bonus question: when Khan lived on Ceti Alpha 5, what ship was he living in?
The Botany Bay.
There you go. All right. Okay, Botany Bay.
What I don't understand about that though was how did they not know that Ceti Alpha 4 blew up? Like,
moved.
Because they thought they went down there.
Yeah, This is Ceti Alpha 5.
Yeah.
Whatever.
But how does Starfleet not know that a ship in their planet in the Federation blew up?
It's all I can do in their defense is say it's a big universe, a big galaxy, whatever. They can't track everything.
That's true.
But Wrath of Khan is so good, and so many great lines at it. And actually, there's another movie we were talking about. I think it was you and I that were talking about this. Was A Few Good Men, where I think you knew every quote from that movie as well. Was that you or was that somebody else? I think it was you.
I love that movie, so you want me on the wall, yeah.
All right. Well, we're at that's the end of my questions. And so you ended up with a score of 6, which is not the best scores. I mean, Blair did way better on Seinfeld.
Yeah, but you asked me a bunch of TNG questions. So
Series next time. Excuses. So thank you for joining me on Influence Me. I hope you. I've been still got that 0 showing. I can get rid of that 0. Okay. So thank you for joining me on Influence Me, and I'll be back with another episode with another influencer in the near future. Thank you. And in the broadcast, and